everyone. In the last session, we have seen tenses, and today we are going to deal with active and passive voice. So before understanding active and passive voice, it's very important for us to know about the verb. So in the last session, I have explained about verb in all the three tenses: present tense, past tense, and future tense. Okay. Now, whether it be active voice or passive voice, or whether it be present tense, past tense, or future tense, verb plays an important role. Okay. Now, before getting into active and passive voice, now let us understand what a sentence is, what a subject is, what an object is. Okay. Now, every sentence has three parts, as we have seen: subject, verb, plus object. So, in the last session also we have seen, all nouns or noun or pronoun can become the subject. We can use any noun or pronoun as the subject. Okay. Now, why we need to focus on the subject and object in active and passive voice is, like, subject is called as the doer of the action. Subject is the doer of the action, and object becomes receiver of the action. Okay. Now, one more important thing we need to notice is, all sentences may not have objects. Very important. All sentences may not have, or all verbs may not have objects. Okay. Now, how to transform or how to convert active voice into passive voice? How to change a sentence from active voice to passive voice? Okay. Before getting into that, let's talk about verb again. So, already we have seen in the last session transitive verb and intransitive verb. So, what do we mean by transitive verb and what do we mean by intransitive verb? Very simple, guys. Okay. Now, so when we just look at this sentence, she writes novels. Okay. So when we just observe this sentence, she is the subject, writes is the verb, and novels is the object. Very simple. So, the first rule in active and passive voice is, only transitive, the sentences which has an object, or the verb which carries an object, is called as the transitive verb. So, verb has an object. Okay. The verb which has an object is called as the transitive verb. Only the transitive verbs can be converted into passive voice. Very simple. Okay. And the next point is intransitive. Intransitive verbs cannot be changed into passive voice. Okay. So what do we mean by intransitive verb is simple. Okay. So when we just observe this sentence, we have the subject, we have the verb, and we do not have the object. Okay. The verb does not carry an object. Now this is the adverb. So we need to focus on that. Like, the verb which does not carry an object is called as the intransitive verb. And one important point is, intransitive verbs cannot be changed into passive voice. And one more point we have to notice is, all transitive verbs cannot be changed into passive voice. There are certain exceptions. For example, we can take this example as, he seems happy. Such sentences cannot be changed into passive voice. Or let's take this example as, this is intransitive. Let's take an example for transitive. Asif has a bike. So when we take a sentence like this, so on the outset when you just look at it, guys, Asif is the subject. Okay, and we have the object, but such kind of sentence cannot be changed into passive voice. There are certain exceptions. So we'll get to the exceptions when we go to the topic directly. Okay, now let's focus on the topic. Now already as I told you, in the active voice, subject is the doer of the action. And this active voice is also called as default voice. Why is it called as default voices? When we just look into the subject, most of the sentences are in active voice. Okay, so the main difference between American English and British English is, guys, like American English do not have this active and passive voice. They have only active voice. They do not have passive voice. So when it comes to British English, we have active and passive voice, and so do we Indians. Okay, we also follow this active and passive voice in our grammar. Okay, now coming to the active and passive voice, like how do we go about it? Like if the given sentence, as I told you, subject is the doer of the action and object is the receiver of the action, or action is done to the object here. Okay, now if the given sentence is in simple present tense, now we'll just go in an order. First let's see present tense, then we'll go to the past tense, then future. Now if the given sentence is in simple present tense, okay, now we are converting from active voice to passive voice. Okay, so now the given sentence is in active voice, it is in simple present tense. For example, she writes novels. Okay, now if the sentence is given like that in active voice, that is in simple present tense, when we are changing that into passive voice, focus, guys, like subject comes in the place of the object and object comes in the place of the subject. So that is what we said, subject is the doer of the action, and this in active voice subject is doing the action. So when we go to the passive voice, we need to place the object in the subject place. Novels are written by her. Okay, now what is this? Novels are written by her. So first thing we need to check in which tense the sentence is given in active voice. Okay, now this is in simple present tense. So when the sentence is given in simple present tense, so what we have to do here is we need to use the be form in the place of the verb. So we need to focus one thing, guys, always the verb is changed. Okay, changes happen to the verb when it goes to the passive voice. Okay, so what are the be forms? I can use either am, is, or are, plus V3. So in all these conversions, when we change from active voice to passive voice, we need to keep in mind V3 form is used or past participle is used. Okay, so am or is or are depending on the number. Okay, so next past participle, that is V3 form, plus followed by, and what are we doing here? She becomes her. Okay, so novels are written by her. So the object has become the subject here, and the subject has become the object here. And one more thing we need to remember is always followed by, and the she has become her. Okay, so as we have already learned, how the pronouns also change when they go to the object place. So we always have the subject place and the object place. Now coming to the present continuous, as we have seen, this is simple present tense. Okay, now let's go to the present continuous tense. Okay, so we'll go about with the same example, guys. She is writing novels. Okay. Now, if the given sentence is in present continuous tense in active voice, when it goes to passive voice. Okay. Now, if we remember these structures, it becomes very easy for us to convert or change active voice into passive voice. Okay. Now, again, we'll follow the same rule. She is writing novels. Novels are being written by her. Okay, now just observe the structure here. Okay, so when we have taken the simple present tense, what are the verbs we have used? Okay, now when we have taken the present continuous tense, how do we go about it? Okay, simple. Am or is or are plus being. We are adding one more thing, that is being plus V3 form, that is past participle, plus by plus her, the same thing. Okay, so the subject becomes the object and object becomes the subject. So you have to remember these in order not to make mistakes. Okay, now let's go to the present perfect. Now, if it is present perfect tense, as we all know, most of the people make a mistake here. Okay, so perfect tense itself means we need to use helping verbs. Okay, so as we have seen in the earlier session also, let's have just a small recap. Okay, be forms, do forms, and have forms. Okay, so these are called as the auxiliaries or helping verbs. Okay, so be forms are am, is, are in the present form, was, and were in the past form. So when we come to the do forms, do, does, did. We should never forget these fundamentals. Okay, have forms, has, have, and have. Okay, so whenever we use perfect tense, we always use has and have in the present form, and when we go to the past form, we only have had. Okay, when we are using singular, we use has. When it is plural, we go with have. So we should not forget that. And here also same is applicable, guys. That's the reason why I have written am. If it is I, it is I am. Okay, is singular. He is, she is, it is, or any name. Okay, Raj is, any singular. Okay, or are. Are is what? Are is for plural. They are, we are, the students are, the teachers are. Okay, so coming to the next one. Same thing is, here also the same thing is applicable. It all depends on the person and the number. Okay, subject should always agree with the verb. So we have that subject-verb agreement. So that is very important here. Now coming back to the topic, like present perfect tense. Okay, so whenever we use present perfect, as I already told you, either we use has or have. So since we are taking singular here, I'm going with the same concept. She has. Okay, she has written novels. Okay, when we have to change this active voice, this sentence into passive voice, how do we go about it? Same thing. Novels, because novels is plural. I have to take plural verb here. Novels are novels have been. Okay, I hope you have noticed novels have been written by her. So when we just look at this present continuous tense, we are using being, B-E-I-N-G. When you come to this present perfect tense, then what are we using, guys? We are using have been. Now what do we do here? It is has or have been. So we are not using any be form here, we are using have form here. That is what you need to keep in mind. When you come to the perfect tense, it is the have form. Okay, so that's the reason the structure has changed. Now we are replacing this be form with what? Have form. Has or have been plus same thing. B3. Okay, so plus whatever is the agent. Okay, so the doer of the action, subject, is also called as the agent here. Okay, now her, followed by plus her. We should never forget this by. Okay, now this is all about present tense. Okay, now when we just go to the past tense, if the same sentence is given in the past tense. Okay, so we are done with the present tense. Now let's get back to the past tense. Now in the active voice, if the given sentence is in simple past tense in active voice, how do we change it into passive voice? Okay, so earlier we have seen, like, she writes novels. Okay, let's take the same concept here. Write. V2 form is what is? She wrote. Okay, so this is in active voice. Okay, so the sentence is in active voice and it is in simple past tense. She wrote. Look at the verb here. It is in simple past. Now when we get back to the passive voice. Okay, novels, same thing here. Okay, so object comes in the place of the subject and subject goes in the place of the object. Novels were written. If you just focus on the verb, now English grammar is pretty easy, guys. Okay, the only thing is we do not focus on the verb. Verb is very important, as I told you. Okay, so novels were written by her. Notice in which tense, in active voice, in which tense the sentence is given, and based on that, change it into passive voice. Okay, so what did we do here? In the present tense, we have used what? Am, is, or are. Very simple. Here we are replacing that with was or were. Plus simple. V3 form, that is past participle, plus by, plus here, her. Okay, she becomes what? Her here. Okay, now the same example if we take in present past continuous tense. Okay, now if it is present continuous, then we have used what? She is writing. Okay, now when we come to past continuous, we have to change that into was or were depending on the number. Okay, so what am I doing here? She was writing novels. Okay, now when we change this into passive voice, by now I think you got the concept. Novels were being written by her. Okay, very simple. Okay, so what is the structure here again? The same thing. Was or were plus being plus V3 form plus preposition by plus her. Based on the sentence, guys, you have to change. Okay, now going to the past perfect tense. Okay, now if the given sentence is in past perfect, so as we have seen in have forms, like do forms, be forms, do forms, and have forms. In the have forms, I have already told you that we have has, have, and had. Okay, whenever we come to past tense, we use only one helping verb, that is had. Okay, so when we have seen in present tense, we use has and have depending on the number. Okay, so here what happens is had is the only helping verb we use here. Okay, so she had written. She had written novels. So when we change it into passive voice, what do? Novels had been written by her. So here we should not use this, but we need to go with had plus been, had been plus V3 form plus followed by the preposition by plus her. Okay, so I hope you have noticed in present and past as well, we do not have that perfect continuous tense, guys, because we hardly use perfect continuous tense in active and passive voice. So I hope it is clear for you, like present tense and past tense is over. Let's get back to the future tense, and in future tense we use only simple future and future continuous. Sorry, future perfect. Okay, so as we have seen present tense and past tense, let's come back to the future tense. So when we just come to the future tense, we have only two, guys, that is simple future and future perfect. Okay, first let us look at this example in simple future tense. Now if the given sentence is in simple future, so as we have seen, she writes novels or she wrote novels. Now here it is she will write novels. I hope you all remember, like will and shall are future tense words. Okay, so basically shall is used for I and we. Okay, whenever we use I and we need to say I shall and we shall. There's nothing wrong even if we say I will, but officially it is I shall and we shall. Okay, so all other things they take will. He will, she will, it will. Okay, or the name. Okay, now she will write novels. Now how do we change this in passive voice? When it goes to passive voice, how do we write this? Novels will be written by her. Okay, I hope you have noticed there's nothing much here. It is like will plus be. Okay, will be plus V3 form. Will or shall be plus V3, that is past participle plus by. Okay, so whatever it is, here we are using her. Okay, now let's go to the future perfect tense. She will have written. She will have written the novels. Okay, so when we change this sentence into passive voice, it is novels will have been written by her. Okay, so the structure can be will or shall have been plus V3 plus by plus her. So this is about future tense. Hope you have noticed in present tense and in past tense we saw three forms there, and coming to future we only have simple future and future perfect. Now I think you might be having some questions in your mind, like if at all there is a sentence like close the door. Now this is a command. Okay, so when we have to change commands, okay, so if the given sentence in active voice is a command, now how do we change it when we go to the passive voice? Very simple, guys. For example, there is a sentence called close the door. Okay, now when I say close the door, I'm not calling anybody, I'm not mentioning any name here. but it is understood that it is you. Okay, so when we have sentences like when it implies you, okay, so how do we change that in passive voice? Very simple, we have to use let. Okay, so let the door be closed. So when we have seen in the earlier examples, it was followed by. So when you come to commands, it is be. Okay, let the door be closed. Okay, finally, let's talk about questions, interrogative sentences. Okay, so earlier we have seen imperative sentence, that is a command. Okay, so if at all there is an interrogative sentence like, did you understand? Okay, now if the given sentence or the interrogative sentence in active voice is, did you understand the lesson? Okay, now when we change it into passive voice, was the lesson? Understand changes to past. So next is, do they sell? Do they sell building material? Okay, again you have to check with the subject and the object, guys, very important, whether it is in singular or plural. Based on that we have to use the verb here. Very simple, is the building material sold by them? I hope you have noticed here. Okay, so do they sell building material? Sell. Okay, so is the building material sold by them? So when you have seen here, did you understand the lesson? Was the lesson understood by you? So based on the given sentence, you have to go about the verb, the subject and the object, guys. And there is always like preposition by here. Okay, so it should always be followed by. So this is about interrogative sentence. So I hope you all understood active and passive voice. We have covered all the three tenses and we have seen how an imperative sentence is changed and how an interrogative sentence is changed. Yes, so I hope you all understood the topic, guys. In a nutshell, I have explained, like if we have to go much deeper into it, we have a lot of examples to do, but due to time, constraint, I have to end here. I hope to see you in the next video with some other topic. Thank you.